Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, and listen to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks of Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in the community, whether it's food insecurity, it's financial literacy, it's the arts, homelessness, you name it. They are knee-deep in doing great things. Always a great day on my longtime friend and colleague is in the house, and that is Deacon Jim Vargas, the president and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. You always make me smile, Jim.
Likewise. It's always good to be with you.
This is the first time I think you've brought in a fellow deacon. Is that correct?
That's true, and we're going to overwhelm you with the two of us being deacons. So yes.
Listen, I'm going to get my deaconship,
there we go.
Maybe my card or all that, and that's joined by Deacon John Roberts. He's a Chaplaincy and Wellness Program Manager for Father Joe's Villages. Honor to have you in, Deacon John. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. What part of the South are you from?
I'm from Asheville, North Carolina.
Good. As Jim may remember, I spent a year at the University of Mississippi at Ole Miss doing some journalism work over here. So not too far away from Asheville. It's a beautiful town over there. How long have you been working with Father Joe's Villages?
In my current role, 6 years, but I started there in 1994 and was there through 2001 as well.
Very, very nice over here. Also joined by two co-hosts with me, Jacob Saletta, doing a wonderful job. This is number 4 for you of their SDSU senior in journalism and media studies, and also a host of the campus radio station. So what do you think, Jacob? So far, you're just a seasoned pro. We'd never know you've never done this before.
I hope I'm hitting a perfect batting average. That's all I can tell you. But I mean, I might swing and miss, but hopefully we just keep going.
No, you're 3 for 3, certainly got a 4 for 4. An honor to have as a co-host Megan McQuaid. She is going to chat about what she also does and supports Father Joe's Villages. And if you don't mind, Megan, we're going to start with you. Tell us what you do with Father Joe's.
Well, we are still in the process. So I am a third-year social work major at San Diego State, and we have worked with many different aspects of Father Joe's Villages for the past, I believe, few years. It was even my freshman year where I was first introduced, and we had some volunteers working at different locations for Father Joe's Villages. We're currently in contact as the volunteer coordinator, as the Undergraduate Social Work Association, to work with the St. Vincent de Paul village in their assessment.
I think that's fantastic. And we're going to get to that in a few seconds as well. So Jim, I want you to get your feedback on what Megan is doing and all that. But I know Jacob has a question for you, Deacon Jim.
Yeah, Deacon Jim. That's going to be funny to say both, but Deacon Jim, definitely talk to me about the mission of your organization. Drive me through it. What inspired you? All of that.
Okay, sure. Well, we're the largest homeless services provider in Southern California. We're also the oldest. We just finished our 75th anniversary just last year.
Wow.
So we're into the 76th year. And on any given night, we provide some level of shelter to about 3,000 individuals. Anywhere from emergency bed all the way up to affordable housing. So, and in between, the almost million meals we serve, breakfast, lunch, and dinner in 2 dining rooms, we have a federally qualified health center, which provides all level of health care, including dental care, behavioral health. We just opened up a detox center, actually 44 beds of detox just in the fourth quarter of last year. And now we have recovery beds as well. So it's a nice progression from detox to then recovery. And our kids, the kids who we serve are academically, emotionally, socially delayed when they come to us. So it's important that we mitigate their circumstances. Otherwise, they're apt to be homeless in adulthood. So that's another area. Employment is important. With employment comes income, and then and then self-sufficiency. So we provide them with vocational training as well. So there's just we're blessed to provide the continuum of care that's necessary in order to help a person out of homelessness. And as Megan mentioned, we love having the social work students from SDSU with us and partner with us. That's great because we have social workers, seasoned social workers at our end, and so the internships there work out very nicely.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Jim, how long have you been at Father Joe's now?
You know what? About a week ago, it marked 11 years.
Wow.
So it's amazing, and as our audience knows, Jim's a frequent guest, and Jim and I worked together many moons ago at the Copley Press and we at the Union Tribune and at the corporate office, and so it's been just a wonderful partnership, and we'll continue for hopefully another 30 years. I've just created more 30 years of work for Jim on this, but you've got the energy to do it. The thing that's amazing since you've been on the show is that I can't believe how much you folks have accomplished, what you've built, what you've done in 11 years. You've done stuff in 11 years that would probably take other folks 3 decades to do. You got to be so proud of that.
Well, my friend, you're very kind. And I have to point to Father Joe Carroll himself. I mean, back in the 1980s, early 80s, when he came onto the scene, everything was disconnected in the community as far as homeless services were concerned. And he came up with his one-stop shop, right? And so he started pulling things together. And then we continue with that legacy. And as you say, Drew, we've built on that legacy, right? So now we've added detox, we've added recovery beds, we added a street health, which had not existed before. First, to be doing street health here on the streets of San Diego, recuperative beds. There's so much that we've added, and you know what? There's so much more to be done. We're building housing. I have 5 buildings in the pipeline right now, right?
It's unbelievable.
Praise God. I always give him the glory. Praise God, right? So.
Now, listen, that's great that you do that, but it does take people boots on the street to do all this stuff over here. Jacob, I know you have a question for Deacon John.
Yeah, Deacon John, talk to me out of curiosity. What does a chaplain do? And what is a chaplaincy program like, especially the homeless service provider?
Right. So I'm the chaplaincy and health and wellness manager at Father Joe's Villages. So primarily we are concerned with the spiritual welfare of both the clients and the staff. And so we try to provide activities that tend to the mind, body, and spirit. And so those are worship, Bible studies, meditations, art, crochet, music, bicycle riding, one of my favorite programs. But they're all, and we depend largely on volunteers to do that. Okay. So I have probably 50 volunteers that come on a nearly weekly basis to provide these services. Yeah.
So I want to get back to the bicycle program. How does that work and who does it involve? Okay.
So it involves, anybody who would like to ride a bike, whether they're living on the street or in one of our shelters or wherever, we rely on people to donate bikes to us. And we have really nice bikes that people have given us. And what we do is we ride 20 miles each week is our goal. And we have a bunch of volunteers that help us provide a safe, organized ride. And when they accomplish 100 miles, usually it takes about 5 weeks. But once they ride 100 miles, then we give them the bike, a helmet, lock, and lights. And if they continue for another 100 miles, then they can get a bus pass for 1 month.
Okay.
So the goal there, for some people, it's a new competency. But they soon learn that, they can do it. And it provides them with a green method of transportation. It extends their reach to look for a job or, they can see the whole city, really.
I'm fascinated about this. So you'll go to people on the street, correct?
Yes.
And so they're sleeping somewhere, right. On the street.
Right.
And then how do you get the bikes to them? Is there like a van that takes the bikes to them?
No, they come to us for the start. They come to my office, basically, and we have all the bikes there. And, we try to make sure that they're prepared to ride that day. We feed them and give them something to drink, so.
So I know now, do you get Deacon Jim to ride a bike?
We haven't yet, but he's next in line.
Okay. Do you know this, Jim, that you got to be doing 20 miles later today?
And by the way, he says 20 miles a week, but it's really on one day, right? It's on
20 miles one day.
One day is Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. You think about it, right? I mean,
pretty impressive.
One morning they do it over the course of 3-4 hours.
Right.
Where do you ride?
All over. Like we go, a favorite of ours is Ocean Beach from downtown. We go to Ocean Beach and turn around at the showers at the bathroom. Imperial Beach, Mission Valley, and that's part of it. It's not only discovering the joy of riding, and what it does for your mind, right? But they also see where there are bike paths and different places they can go and things they can do, for their mind, body, and spirit.
It's amazing. I laugh about this because every time Jim is on, someone goes, hey, how come you have Jim on all the time? Because every time Jim is on, there's something new that he's bringing up, okay? Whether it's, the recoveries and the drug and alcohol and all that business. And now here's the first time we've talked about bikes in this aspect of it. I want to pivot back over to Megan if I can in this aspect of it. So obviously, thank you for what a great career with social work. There's nothing more important than working for those folks that are, need this, they're underrepresented, need this help. What got you into it? Did you have a family that was involved in giving back? Listen, this is just something I wanted to do as a major. Talk about that, Megan.
Yeah, honestly, it's mostly because I grew up in this small town called Castro Valley, but it was right next to Oakland. My mom worked in Oakland. I was just always there. That was our big city. And I think that, we saw a lot of, or I saw a lot of just like people who needed help, people who needed humanity, people who needed just like somewhere to land. And in all aspects, I think my focus is honestly working with youth, but coming down to San Diego, this is really what I wanted to get into is what can we do within the system and to change the system to help these people out and show them like they're deserving of humanity and their dignity and inherent worth as a person. Those are some really important things that we focus on in social work.
No, that's great. When we come back from break, Deacon Jim and Deacon John, I want to talk more about Megan. That is just absolutely just a wonderful story about her passion about doing this, about how maybe Deacon Jimmy, you could talk about getting more students involved in this program, whether it's at SDSU or at USD. And then I know Jacob has some more questions for Deacon John. We got to have some more bike stories on it. There's something else, on this we're going to hear when we return with our friends from Father Joe's Villages. Deacon Jim Vargas, President and CEO, joined by Deacon John Roberts, Chaplaincy and Wellness Program Manager. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We'll be right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 plus years of doing great things for folks living in San Diego County. Always a great day, red letter day, when Father Joe's Villages is in the house. We got Deacon Jim Vargas, president and CEO of the organization. He brought in for the first time, I've been interviewing Jim at least 11 years since he took over as the CEO, and this is his first deacon, partner. He's brought in Deacon John Roberts, Chaplaincy, and Wellness Program Manager, Father Joe's Villages, joined by just two very cool co-hosts, Jacob Saletta. He's a SDSU Journalism and Media Studies senior also. He's a host on the campus radio station, joined by a colleague, Megan McQuaid, who is a social work major at San Diego State and does work for Father Joe's Villages. Before Jacob asks a question, Deacon Jim, just want to talk about, the work that you're relying on with students like, Megan.
Oh, it's instrumental. And it's a win-win, right? Because the students gain so much experience working at Father Joe's Villages, especially with our population. And as you heard Megan say, she has a heart for the people who we serve, we're blessed to serve. I mean, lifting them up in their humanity, you mentioned, Megan. I mean, we all have inherent dignity, right? It's an dignity that's given to us by the fact that we're made in God's image. And that's exactly what we have to recognize, and we help raise awareness so the community recognizes it as well, because sometimes the community gets frustrated and almost at their wit's end, right, with the situation. Sometimes it's awkward for them, they're fearful, and so this constant reminder that, hey, there but for the grace of God go I, right? As an example, right? Never know. That's what we see. We see people who you would have never thought would have fallen into homelessness. And maybe they've been professors or lawyers or doctors, believe it or not. And then something happens in their lives and they fall onto the streets. So you never know.
Well, Jimmy, you and I have talked about this incessantly, and it's the changing face of the homeless. Maybe 30 years ago, you could say, well, that makes sense, even though we should never judge a book by its cover, but people do. And now it's that person that's been gainfully employed for 35 years that is living, because it's not a cheap place to live in San Diego, is a paycheck or two away from, some challenges, and that's what happens. And now, everyone needs to have that dignity as you talked about. Jacob's got a question for you, Deacon Jim.
Yeah, I know with Father Joe's Villages, you guys have touched so many hearts, and I'm sure you guys have so many amazing stories and people that have come through that you've changed their lives. So I'm just curious, if you guys have, both want to tell me a story, right, that you're most proud of within your organization, just one that stands out.
You mentioned Amber.
It's interesting. You're right. You remember Amber.
I do.
You want me to repeat Amber's story? Because Amber's a great story.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Amber is someone...
But you're going to bring Amber on one of these days, right?
Oh, yeah. We'd love to bring Amber on. She'd be great for this program. Yeah. And Amber is one, and I'm so very proud of her. She's someone who... because of circumstances, really fell onto the streets and fell into substance use. She had a husband who became ill and came down with cancer, in time succumbed to cancer. And that threw her into a spiral. She had two little kids. Her aunt, unfortunately, hooked her up with substance use. And so she lost her two kids to CPS and actually died from a drug overdose. If you think about it, both of them, she and her aunt at the same time. The aunt was not so lucky. She passed. But Amber was brought back through the use of Narcan, naloxone. And let me tell you, she found Father Joe's Villages, and it changed her life. From help with the substance use, she was able to then gain employment through some of our vocational training. She got some marketable skills. She was able then to regain custody of her children, right? Found an apartment. And she's an incredible woman. The kids, you should see these two little girls she has, they're beautiful and they look up to her, and well, they should. I mean, so she's overcome a lot of adversity. And, that's Amber's story, right? But if you think about Deacon John and the work that he does with the bike program as an example, I mean, I'm sure you have loads of stories. And the thing with this bike program is, as Deacon John was saying, it's relationships that you build as well. I mean, there's the health and wellness aspect of it, but you're building relationships. And chaplaincy, by the way, is not forced on anyone. It's there. You're at your disposal should you want to avail yourself of the services, but it's not forced on anyone. And yet, so many people have told me that it's saved their lives. It won't surprise you to hear that we deal with a lot of brokenness, right? Mm-hmm. And so we could help them with meals, we could help them with shelter and so forth. But, that brokenness is there. And so they find their way into the chaplaincy program. This is where Deacon John and his volunteers are instrumental because it helps them, right, to regain a sense of themselves. And that's very, very important.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So as Jim was mentioning, you got the bike program. First I've heard of it. Did you come up with the idea of the bike program?
I came up with the earn the bike part of it, but it pre-existed me. We had a few bikes that someone had donated, and one of our volunteers said, "Hey, what are you doing with those bikes?" And we said, "We don't know," And they said, "Well, I'll take people out for a ride," and that was Carlos Valenzuela. He was a volunteer. Still rides with us. He's in his 80s.
Wow.
And
but what it does is it looks at something that's right in front of your face. An example I've been using, probably Jim is sick and tired of me saying this over here, is that the wheel was invented in 3000 BC or whatever, and suitcases probably first century, and we didn't put the wheel on the suitcase to 1970. Really? Serious? How's that possible? Right? Here are the bikes. Bikes have been around probably for 4 billion years. Right? That makes all the sense in the world. What is your next idea that's going to come up with? You got roller skates? Is it going to be skateboards?
Well, I guess the Monday last year we gave away 7 tricycles.
Wow.
Now, these are 3-wheelers, adult 3-wheelers that have a basket on the back that's detachable and has wheels on it and a basket on the front. So people who live downtown, like in an Efficiency or in one of our buildings, they can ride to the grocery store, load it up, offload it and so forth. And so that's kind of a new thing. But I like the question because I always say, at first, I felt like a little, that here I'm spending all this time riding bikes and I'm supposed to be the chaplain, but I can't find a better program. And so I tell people, I say, if you have a better idea, I want to do that too, because for what it does, it touches all the bases, cycling does. And, so, yeah, that's my answer.
Wow.
Whatever that program is, I want to do that too. But
it's a perfect question because you sort of teed us up here. Yeah. So now, spotlight on the community listeners. You have a challenge, okay? Deacon John Roberts and Deacon Jim will keep on top of you on this here. Yeah. We want ideas. You can send it right to us at Cloudcast Media or in our Spotlight show. What is going to be the next iteration of the bike program? It doesn't have to be bikes. It could be something else you're thinking about. Send it over to Deacon John, and then my hope is that, Drew, based on the podcast, you can't believe how many ideas came in, and we're going to implement X, Y, and Z. And the person who makes that recommendation, we're going to have on the show with you once it's recommended. What do you think?
I like it.
Okay, we'll do that. Deacon Jim, always good to see my longtime friend. Any final comments?
You know how much I appreciate you, and I appreciate the community and your listeners. I mean, we do our work through the generosity and the compassion of the community. It's the only way we do our work. The majority of our funding is philanthropic. We have over 6,000 volunteers on a yearly basis that help us with our work. Deacon John mentioned 50 who help him in the chaplaincy program. So between that, visiting our thrift stores, donating items that are gently used and furniture and so forth, and boats and cars, that's how, all this is converted to services. And that's what it's all about.
No, it sounds good. So, as always, another good episode with you. We're very grateful, Deacon Jim. Deacon John, what a pleasure meeting you on this. And to my young co-host, Megan McQuaid, what'd you think? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, this was so awesome. It's really great to meet you and talk about how what you're doing, like up at the top, to see it, because I really see like what's going down in the everyday work, but I love to hear it. I do actually have a question for you if we...
Absolutely.
I would love for you to share with everyone like how they can get involved, how they can volunteer, just beyond the thrift stores and the donations. And I'd love to just hear a little bit more about that from you, how everyone can contribute to this.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. And, when you think of volunteering at Father Joe's Villages, or many people think of serving a meal, and that's great. We love, and we need 75 to 80 volunteers on a daily basis, believe it or not, to help us serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner in our 2 dining rooms. There's a lot more, though. You doctors out there, you medical professionals who are out there, nurses who have extra time on your hands, right? And maybe you're retired. We have our federally qualified health center. Come and help us there, because that's so very, very instrumental. Our therapeutic childcare center. We need mentors for our young adults, I'll call them, our teenagers, and people who can work with them after school with tutoring and helping them with homework and the like. And so there's that aspect as well. On the employment side, people who have been involved as teachers, as an example, helping people to prepare resumes and teaching them networking skills. So there is so varied what we do, and the volunteers are so very important. Last year, the equivalent dollars for the hours that we got from our volunteers was about $4.5 million. Can you imagine? I mean, I wouldn't have been able to take another $4.5 million from my budget in order to provide those services. So I love our volunteers.
There's no question about it. Well, Deacon Jim, always a pleasure. Deacon John, I really do hope we have some ideas coming up. If not, Jacob and I and Megan and Ian and Brandon, the Spotlight on the Community team, are going to send you some ideas in that aspect of it. Megan did a wonderful job as a co-host, and Jacob as well. And to our listeners, support Father Joe's Villages. They continue to do great things and uplift such an important part of our community, and we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.